Dun, 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 dun. Do you remember these old Western movies where the cowboys somehow always knew that the downtime was the most important time of the night? They could not afford to actually make a mistake because any mistake during the downtime meant the difference between life and death. And that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about today. So you don't want to miss this show, all right? Stay tuned for more. Welcome to Mountain Inspiration. My name is Dimitri. This is a place where you can expect to receive your daily dose of motivation and transformation through the eyes of history. Why? Simply because we believe that anything and everything that you and I may be going through right now has been experienced to some degree by someone before us. And if we can take the time to identify, review, and also apply the lesson they've left behind for us, then we can save ourselves a great amount of time, and in the process, just propel ourselves to the next level or dimension. All right? If this is the first time landing on this channel, you know what? Just do yourself a favor. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that next time we put together a video and we put together one of these amazing productions for you, you can be amongst the first one to actually see the video. All right? And if you're a returning member to this growing tribe, welcome back. Welcome back to a place where you can receive your daily dose of motivation and transformation. So again, thank you very much for all the likes, for all the comments, and for all the shares. Everything that you are doing, you know what, we've noticed, and we are beyond grateful for everything that you'll be doing for this channel, because without you, Mountain Inspiration would not be where we are today. All right? So without any further ado, let's get right into it. As I was saying, back in the days in the old Western movies, you always see a cowboy actually be able to actually fall asleep anywhere. But in the middle of the night, when they're putting the hats on, they will always, for some reason, be ready for any gun battle and always be ready to just jump out of wherever they were to actually confront a bad guy or a bad person trying to actually take their life. And this was amazing. I mean, as a lesson, it simply tells us that, you know what, the downtime is the most important time of your life, because you know what, downtime is basically a moment where you are basically between life and death, and any choice or any decision you make during the downtime can have long-term effect on your future. And as a matter of fact, for today's session, I'm just going to be even more specific. Anything you do during your downtime has compounding effect on your life and on your overall legacy. Again, let me say it again. Anything you do during the downtime has compounding effect on your result that you're achieving during your lifetime, and also on your legacy once all is said and done and you are completely gone and you are no longer part of the picture. And I'm going to just use just one example today. One example today just to prove it. And as a matter of fact, Roman back in the days to say, qui nimis probat nihil probat. Meaning, again, qui nimis probat nihil probat. Meaning, he would try to prove too much, proves nothing. So I'm going to use just one example today. Of course, I know some of you are saying that, you know what, Dimitri, we agree with you when it comes to most stuff, but our downtime, my downtime is my downtime. I can do with my downtime anything I want, and you are no place to tell me what to do with my downtime. You are nowhere close to actually being my mentor, to being my dad, or to be anyone to me to tell me what to do with my downtime. If during my downtime, I decide that I'm going to eat as much as you want in terms of junk food, it is my prerogative. If I decide I'm going to party all night long for the next 2 days during the weekend, it is my prerogative. You are no one you have no authority of my life to tell me what to do. I'll say, you know what, respectfully, you're absolutely right. Who am I to tell you what to do? But you know what? As I keep saying, let's go to the books of history and see how things actually happen, and basically how what you do during your downtime has indeed a compounding effect on the results you're going to be getting, and also on the overall legacy you're going to leave when it's all said and done. All right, let's go back again to America. June 30th, 1966, Mike Tyson was born. Shortly after his birth, his father walked away. His mom was actually the only person left to actually be both father and mother figure to the family. And eventually, unfortunately, the iconic Mike Tyson started getting himself in trouble, to the point where by 1978, he has a long rap sheet when it comes to the number of encounters that he has had with the law enforcement, to the point where around that time is basically in the hands of the justice system. And a young man by the name of Bobby Stewart, who was the correctional officer, say to himself, you know what, I've seen this young man, Mike Tyson. I can see that, you know what, above and beyond all this 48 encounter with the police, the police around New York City, that this young man has a promising future. He has the ferocity of a natural fighter. If I can only just find a way to convince him to give me a chance to take him to Catskill so he can actually meet with Cus D'Amato and this team and to see if there could be a fit between the two of them. Bobby Stewart spoke to Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson said, you know what, why not? I mean, what do we have to lose? Let's go meet Cus D'Amato and Catskill and see what they have to offer. So they go to Catskill, and Cus D'Amato listened to Bobby Stewart, and he said, you know what, I agree with you. You used to be a professional boxer, so you know exactly what it takes to be a professional boxer. If you believe that this young man who's under your care, or basically under the care of the justice system, if you believe that he has a future in the ring, I believe you. But in order for me to actually make an assessment and to make a decision as far as my time is concerned, I'm going to have to see him actually in action. So please give him a pair of boxing gloves to get him into the ring, and we're going to see how he's going to react. Of course, Mike Tyson gets fitted with the boxing glove and get into the ring. He was only 12 years old, but he was only weighing 190 pounds. So you can see it was already a tremendous force of nature. So he gets into the ring, and Cus D'Amato turned to Bobby Stewart and said to Bobby Stewart, you know what? Thanks for bringing this young man into this training camp, but you're going to have to actually step into the ring with this young man. Bobby Stewart said, you know what, of course, you know what, it's okay. I mean, I'm only 175 pounds, and this kid's 190 pounds, and you know, plus I used to be a professional boxer. I may be slightly overweight as far as my weight category is concerned, but I still have the skill to actually keep up with anyone. As a matter of fact, with a young boy who's only 12 years old, who has never been in a professional place or anywhere close to a boxing ring. So he gets a boxing glove, and he gets to the ring with Mike Tyson. Within a few seconds of the fight, Bobby Stewart then discovered in Mike Tyson a lion with tremendous ability to keep coming back no matter what you do to this lion. So Bobby Stewart will actually throw a few punches, a few combinations. Of course, if within a few seconds, Mike Tyson was bleeding profusely. He was bleeding profusely from the nose. So most kids his age, basically by that time, they'll be panicking. They will say, my goodness, I'm bleeding. I don't know what's happening. They'll actually lose their bearing and simply ask to actually be let out of the ring. But Mike Tyson, for some reason, he will want to stay in the ring and will try to find a way to keep coming after Bobby Stewart to the point where by the time this thing was actually done, everyone will look at himself and say, my goodness, if this young boy is only 12 years old, and this is the first time that we're stepping into a ring with someone who used to be a professional fighter, and this young man kept coming back after Bobby Stewart, after all the blows, after all the punches, more specifically, after all the blood that was actually dripping profusely from his nose, then this young man is a ferocious savage that we need to find a way to keep within our stable. And the rest is history. After 1978, Cus D'Amato agreed to actually look after Mike Tyson, actually to start giving him training lessons. And eventually, within a year, Mike Tyson was actually released solely to the care of Cus D'Amato and his team. 1978. So shortly after that, they found a way to actually fine-tune Mike Tyson's ability to actually fight. They gave him a few techniques to actually be able to actually improve on. They were extremely hard with him when it comes to everything he was doing. For example, when he would make a mistake, Cus D'Amato would be extremely hard with him. He'll get him to actually throw the same punches actually 1,000 times a day until we get it right. And that was very tremendous. Because by the time they gave him a first fight in a place called the Smoker in the South Bronx in New York, he was actually pitted against a young Spanish boy who was about 17 at the time, was also 190 pounds. But the young boy was already more experienced when it comes to the art of fighting in the ring. But by the time they started fighting with Mike Tyson, guess what happened? Mike Tyson not only dominated the young boy, but actually gave him a severe beating to the point where by the time this young man found himself already actually going back in the ropes, he was actually tangled in the ropes. So basically, he could not go anywhere. So his body reaction was to actually go down. But he found himself entangled in the ropes. And as he was entangled in the rope, Mike Tyson kept coming after him. And guess what he did? At only 190 pounds and already full of muscle and also full of determination, he actually kept punching. And by the time he was done punching this young boy, his mouthpiece came out of his mouth and actually went flying all the way to the back wall where the place was. Everyone in their senses was completely in shock. disbelief. What kind of man is this? What kind of young boy is this? What kind of future does this young boy have? And what kind of a ferocious lion do we have to deal with? Shortly after that, they kept finding a way to fine-tune the techniques. But here's now where things get extremely interesting and where I want you to pay attention. As I was saying in the past few videos, Cus D'Amato wants to Mike Tyson anything, but it meant he was a coach. He only found a way to actually coach Mike Tyson because his philosophy was that if I can teach Mike Tyson to be an amazing fighter in the world of boxing, Mike Tyson is going to then become also a better man as a person. And then what they did is they will not attend to anything that will actually be happening around the boxing camp. So, for example, from time to time after the boxing session, all boxers were supposed to then actually go take a shower. But Mike Tyson, because he knew around that time he was becoming the best fighter within the stable, he would not go by the same rule. So what he would do after the training session, instead of actually going for a shower, he would just take some cologne and put it all around his body and just go out. And it would just basically be that daring. But what will happen is, around the same time, Mike Tyson was becoming the more bolder in his ability just to defy the rules. Then very slowly but surely, something was happening. By 1983, Ted Atlas, who was basically the trainer that Cus D'Amato had actually entrusted, to whom Cus D'Amato had entrusted Mike Tyson, basically reports or argues that around 1983, one particular day, Mike Tyson basically had a less than noble behavior, I would say untoward behavior towards with one of his nieces. And Ted Atlas was not pleased with that, so he actually went to confront Mike Tyson. And according to Mike Tyson, he was confronted with a gun. So after this confrontation, Mike Tyson went back to his room and was actually packing his belongings. He was ready to go. I mean, Cus D'Amato comes into the room, see that his young protege or his young coach, his younger pupil is actually getting ready to leave. He said to himself, no, they have to make a decision. Either I'm going to let this young man go or I'm going to let Ted Atlas go. So what he did, he made a mistake. He actually decided, instead of actually finding a way to bring the two of them together, to let go of Ted Atlas. And that was the beginning of the end as far as something amazing is concerned in terms of how to manage your downtime. Let me go with this. That was 1983. 1985, what happened is Mike Tyson became a professional fighter. And he's become a professional fighter. His team of managers made of two gentlemen, one by the name of Jim Jacobs and one Bill Caton, were looking after the promotion of Mike Tyson. So they will make sure that after each single fight, they will send a copy of the fight to all the TV stations to actually promote Mike Tyson, to make sure that the world knew who the name Mike Tyson was. By the time 1986 came and Mike Tyson was actually win his first championship belt, the world by that time was already unnoticed. We already knew who Mike Tyson was. And here's now where I'm going. That was 1986. Less than 4 years later, in 1990, Mike Tyson goes to Japan. The Tokyo Dome is not defeated by Butch Douglas. So some people will say that, you know what? It was what Mike Tyson was doing during this time, around this time in Tokyo that actually led to demise. I would simply say no. What happened is Mike Tyson did this to himself, and that started back in 1983 when he started defining the rules. And when he actually got to a place where there was this confrontation with Ted Atlas, and that led to Ted Atlas being fired, and led to Ted Atlas being replaced by, I believe, a gentleman by the name of Kevin. As Kevin actually took over Ted Atlas' position, Kevin himself knew that, you know what, Mike Tyson is an amazing and tremendous fighter. We have to actually keep working with him. But no one at that time knew how to contend with Mike Tyson, knew how to contend all his ability to challenge and to defy the rules. To the point where by the time 1990 came and when Jim Jacobs passed away, one of the managers, and Billy Caton was the only one left as a manager, and Don King showed up in the middle of that and said, Mike Tyson need no manager. Mike Tyson is a boxer who can be managed by anyone. That was the beginning of the end. Because you know what? By the time this change of guard took place, basically Don King took over. And Don King started whispering to Mike Tyson, you know, you don't need anyone from Cus D'Amato's team. You need to get rid of all of them. And eventually got rid of Kevin and everybody that basically stood as trainer after Ted Atlas left. Guess what happened? By the time he actually reached Tokyo, the man in terms of development, the man in terms of skill, the boxer in terms of development, in terms of skill, it was already on his way down. Tokyo exposed what had started taking place since 1983. So it took 7 years for the world to discover what had been taking place in the background, but eventually it showed. And what I'm trying to say is the following. Everything you do with your downtime as what I would call as compounding effect on the future as a person, and also on the future in terms of your legacy. So until and unless you find a way to deal with your downtime in the most constructive way, in the most efficient way, you will always actually be having a situation where you're actually on your way down. And what exactly we saw with Mike Tyson is simply a demonstration of a cowboy who found himself in a position where he forgot to draw his gun when it was supposed to be drawn. And unfortunately, because he actually had been accumulating this behavior over time from 1983 to 1990, eventually the world came to be stunned when Bush Douglas came out of nowhere, which when he was only ranked 7th in a list of heavyweight champions in the world of boxing, in the heavyweight division. Everyone stopped because we know what? Mike Tyson at the time looked completely invincible. But the look of invincibility that people were seeing on the outside was already being undermined in the background since 1983 by the fact that his downtime was not being managed properly. All right? So as far as you and I are concerned, it's just one thing I'd like to actually leave with you is your downtime is yours. You can do whatever you want during your downtime. As a matter of fact, your life is yours. You can do with your life anything you want. But as far as history is concerned, history is merciless. Whatever you do in the dark will always be exposed in the light. Whatever you do when no one is watching will always be exposed when people are watching. Whatever you choose to do when basically you decide to have your own moment is always going to be exposed when it is people's moment in the future. So the best thing to do right now, as far as you and I are concerned, is to make sure that you're always ready like a cowboy or a cowgirl back in the days. Whenever basically they actually decide to give themselves a time to actually just go for a nap, they will always be ready for anything because they knew that the downtime was also a moment that meant life or death. So you have to be ready during your downtime in order to make sure that your subconscious is actually receiving the right message in order for you to receive the right outcome and the right legacy in the future. All right? I'm going to stop you for now, but before I go, 3 things I'm going to kindly ask you to do. Number 1, please make sure you like this video. Number 2, please make sure you leave a comment. Number 3, please make sure you share this video with as many friends as possible and get them to subscribe to the channel so we can continue to grow as a tribe. All right? Thanks again for watching. And remember, once a champion, always a champion. But in order for you to be a champion, you have to make sure you maintain a certain lifestyle, even and more specifically during your downtime. All right? Thanks again for watching.